Prime Minister then joined Trump at a rally aboard the USS Washington, where she got to hear him just rambling to our troops on a range of subjects, including magnets. He hates magnets. He hates magnets, windmills, and sharks. But he loves steam.
I want to know, catapults, which is better, the electric or the steam? They had steam, which works so beautifully. Steam, they said they can fix it with a hammer and a blowtorch. I love the sight of that beautiful steam pour.
Vice President Maybelline was making the rounds, attempting to defend his boss and the chairman of the FCC with a new fairy tale, even a 5-year-old.
Two things. First of all, I'd like them to tell me exactly what Brendan Carr did to have Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air, because number one, he is currently on the air, and to the extent that he isn't in certain stations, it's because he's not funny and because his ratings.
Trump's America has officially entered its peak absurdity arc, the kind where the plot twists are so wild, even the writers are begging for a reboot. Because somehow J.D. Vance went from a guy selling "I left the Rust Belt and found my soul" memoirs to Trump's most obedient hype man, grinning through every catastrophe like he's auditioning for the world's worst buddy comedy. Jimmy Kimmel didn't just roast this duo, he dismantled them with surgical precision, like a man who's been holding in a laugh for 8 straight years and finally let it rip.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Ankles was back home at the White House tonight, handing out candy to children. One of the kids was dressed as you can see him here on the right side, as a light-up marshmallow. And watch this, because this is something Trump has done in the past. Instead of putting candy in the bag, he puts it on. J.D. Vance is crushing it when it comes to policy.
How will we lower the cost of daycare? It's such an important question, Charlie. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more. Or
Jimmy Kimmel hilarious reaction on J.D. Vance's daycare solution. His plan to lower costs is to guilt-trip grandma into free labor.
Maybe there's an answer.
Kimmel didn't need a monologue. He needed a mop. Because Trump's marathon of nonsense, the mess was spilling faster than campaign slogans could be printed. It's not a partnership. It's a blooper reel that refuses to end. Trump talks, Vance nods, America cringes. Somewhere in the distance, a bald eagle files for asylum.
And when we run out of steam, we're going to oxen, big teams of beautiful oxen. He loves steam. And then he closed things out as only Donald Trump can.
J.D. Vance has become the human equivalent of a campaign bumper sticker that's been left on too long, faded, peeling, and oddly proud of being stuck to something going downhill. His loyalty to Trump isn't strategic, it's devotional. The man acts like standing next to chaos will make him look like order, but instead of rising, he's sinking, smiling all the way down like a passenger on the Titanic, insisting it's a cruise.
I have some good news for you, J-Dog. We're back on all the stations. And every prison in America. But, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your bullshit. Go on.
There's something else that's important here, Laura, which is that these broadcast companies, ABC, NBC, CBS, they enjoy the public airwaves because they serve the...
Kimmel caught on to it instantly. He didn't just see the hypocrisy, he spotlighted it like a late-night infomercial. Because in Trump's orbit, integrity is the first thing to go, followed closely by coherence. J.D. Vance's big political personality shift from critic to cheerleader wasn't a transformation, it was an exorcism of self-respect. He traded spine for spotlight, conviction for convenience, and got applause from a crowd that cheers anything wearing a red tie.
You know, we used to send the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders on these USO tours, and now we have this. Meanwhile, while Trump's slurping noodles in Japan were on day 28 of his big, beautiful government shutdown, air traffic controllers missed their first paycheck today. So if you are visiting us from out of town, you live here now. You're not
Trump, meanwhile, is doing what he does best, performing presidency like it's community theater. Every appearance is a production, every speech a one-man show nobody asked for. The difference now is he's got J.D. Vance as his hype man, clapping offbeat and repeating the chorus even when the music stops. It's the political version of karaoke gone wrong, except the microphone never cuts out and the audience is trapped.
If you go to a Jimmy Kimmel live viewing, you have to really be a humorless scold.
Did you hear what he just called you? He called you humorless scolds. What is wrong with you people? You trying to make JD's mascara run? What's going? A humorless scold. Who talketh like that?
Kimmel's takedown wasn't just funny, it was forensic. He dissected the illusion that Trump's chaos has purpose, that JD's devotion has depth. He reminded everyone that the only consistent thing about this administration is its inconsistency. One day it's law and order, the next it's whatever helps the polls. The Trump-Vance duo isn't leadership. It's a never-ending open mic night at democracy's expense. Every time JD tries to sound profound, it's like watching a student recite a book report he didn't read. The metaphors don't land, the moral vanishes halfway through, and Trump still gets top billing. Kimmel highlighted that irony with such precision that you could hear the collective groan of a nation tired of pretending this circus is government. Because that's what it's become. A circus with no animals left, just clowns fighting for center ring. And JD's role? He's the one following behind the elephant, broom in hand, calling it public service. His whole political brand is built on agreeing louder than anyone else. Trump says the sky's green, JD nods like it's divine revelation. Trump misplaces a fact, JD calls it strategy. It's loyalty so extreme, it borders on performance art. Except no one's laughing. Except Kimmel, who's made it his personal mission to remind America that satire has better attendance than cabinet meetings.
Other than that, things were a little bit different this year because of the construction that's going on at the White House. They had to improvise a bit. They had to move around, and, they want to get that ballroom finished, so they just went right ahead with the demolition while the trick-or-treating was happening. The kids had fun, though. The Department of Agriculture was there, and kids love that. Handing out mini pumpkins, and the U.S. Postal Service was there with a Be Best postcard station. They gave the children Be Best postcards. I didn't know Be Best was still...
The funny part is that J.D. Vance once pretended to be the rational Republican, the bridge between populism and sanity. Now he's burning that bridge and roasting marshmallows over the ashes. Trump doesn't just attract loyalty, he absorbs it, chews it, and spits it back as applause. Kimmel saw that for what it is. Not a movement, but a codependent spectacle of self-preservation. Every Trump rally is a masterclass in emotional chaos management. The promises sound recycled, the outrage rehearsed, the slogans stale enough to come with expiration dates. JD stands there smiling like a man who's just been told he's part of history, but doesn't realize it's the kind future textbooks will skip. Kimmel didn't need to exaggerate. He just described it accurately, which in Trump's America already sounds like parody. Trump keeps rebranding every disaster as destiny. Every scandal becomes proof of persecution, every mistake a master plan. JD calls it resilience. Kimmel calls it what it is. Damage control wrapped in denial, dipped in delusion. The president spins chaos like cotton candy, and JD's just there holding the stick.
Everyone needs to just crack open a Bud Light and relax already. Even the vice president took a break from humping his ottoman to complain about, not just me, you.
On Jimmy Kimmel's television program and on The Daily Show this week, you have audiences outright cheering, seeing the images of Teslas on fire across the country. And I saw that and I thought, man, that really is a sign of how much the left has conditioned people to think that that's acceptable.
Yeah, though I will say in defense of the American people, Jimmy Kimmel's show is so unfunny and boring and left-wing that it's probably...
Watching Trump and Vance campaign together is like seeing a magician and his assistant argue over who gets credit for the rabbit. Trump does the illusion, JD claps first. It's not policy, it's performance art with a soundtrack of applause and confusion. The best part? Kimmel doesn't have to invent punchlines anymore. The headlines write them for him. Kimmel's roast worked because it didn't punch down. It punched diagonally, straight through the nonsense. Trump's America has turned governing into branding, and JD's playing along like an unpaid intern who thinks the chaos is mentorship. It's a sequel nobody wanted to the reality show nobody finished. Kimmel's brilliance lies in how he points it out. Not with bitterness, but with that slow, knowing smirk that says, you can't parody what's already self-parody. While Trump rewrites history one press conference at a time, JD Vance footnotes it like a man trying to justify the plot. The comedy writes itself, but Kimmel polishes it until it gleams. He's not mocking them for existing, he's mocking the audacity it takes to call this governance. Trump speaks in chaos, JD echoes in cliches, and somewhere in the middle, democracy checks its pulse.
It was a bigly busy day for the president this morning, or maybe it was last night. I don't know. He was in South Korea meeting with the president of China for trade negotiations, which, according to one expert who was there, went very, very well.
I thought it was a great meeting. I think it was a very friendly meeting. It was a good meeting for two very large, powerful countries. Overall, I guess on the scale of from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12.
Wow. It's even higher than...
Every campaign event feels like deja vu wearing a new slogan. The flags wave, the crowd chants, the contradictions multiply. Trump calls it energy, Kimmel calls it reruns. And when JD steps in to defend it, he looks like a man who lost an argument with a mirror. Kimmel doesn't even need to raise his voice. The absurdity does the heavy lifting. There's a scene in every political downfall where someone still insists it's fine. JD Vance has made that his full-time job. Trump declares a victory over logic, and JD applauds like a background actor who missed his cue. Kimmel's roast didn't invent that image. It just held it still long enough for everyone to see it. And as long as the show goes on, Kimmel will be there, armed with wit, receipts, and the audacity to remind the world that comedy, at its sharpest, doesn't just entertain. It exposes. Because what Kimmel understands, and what Trump's inner circle keeps pretending not to, is that the spectacle only works if the audience keeps clapping. And lately, the applause sounds forced. It's the uneasy sound of people realizing the joke stopped being funny a long time ago. Yet the performer never left the stage. Trump keeps rewriting the same scene, changing the props, replacing the cast, but the plot remains the same. A chaos machine disguised as charisma. A routine that relies on distraction instead of direction.
Archbishop of Canterbury? Go on.
There are these judges. Judge Boasberg comes to mind. Lots of judges who are trying to basically say the president can't exercise the powers of the presidency. You're an attorney. How do you assess the legal battles here?
Yeah, I bet all those judges are huge fans of Jimmy Kimmel, by the way. But I think, Vince, that, one, we have an appeals process.
Good one, JD. You shoehorn that one.
Kimmel tears that illusion apart with surgical precision. He doesn't need to raise his voice or stretch the truth. He just holds up the mirror. Because once you look long enough, the reflection doesn't lie. What's left isn't a movement. It's a rerun of delusion dressed up as destiny. Every time Trump stumbles through another press spectacle, Kimmel is there to underline the irony, to draw attention to how absurdity has become the new normal and shamelessness the new standard. This isn't politics, it's performance art gone rogue. A presidency that runs like a parody of itself, with Trump doubling down on chaos and JD Vance playing the loyal understudy who never questions the script. Kimmel doesn't have to exaggerate. The truth is already dripping in comedy. The tragedy is that the country is stuck watching a drama it didn't audition for. Every scandal, every headline, every meltdown, each one is a cliffhanger that never resolves. Trump calls it momentum, but it's just motion without direction. Kimmel catches the rhythm, turning political absurdity into punchlines that sting harder than policy ever could. His humor doesn't need exaggeration because reality has already beaten satire to the punch. The world has become the setup, and Trump keeps delivering the punchline without knowing he's the joke.
Trump visited several countries in Asia: Malaysia, Japan, South Korea. He avoided Vietnam just for old time's sake. But the big event was his sit-down with Xi. Just before their talk, Trump sent China a message. He announced that he's ordered the Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons again. And that's right. If they won't give him the peace prize the regular way, he's going to take it by force. Reporters on Air Force One asked him why he decided to do this and why he decided to do it right before he met with the Chinese. And his answer was basically, I did it because they did it.
With others doing testing, I think it's appropriate.
In this theater of delusion, truth is treated like a heckler, something to silence rather than confront. But Kimmel refuses to play along. He laughs where others flinch, pointing out how the mighty spectacle crumbles under its own weight. Because nothing deflates a manufactured myth faster than laughter. It strips away the illusion of control and exposes the hollow confidence beneath. Trump can command a crowd, but he can't command credibility. And JD Vance can echo his lines, but he can't make them ring true. The genius of Kimmel's takedown lies in the balance between humor and heartbreak. Every joke is an autopsy on the political body that's been drained of sincerity. He doesn't mock just for laughs, he mocks to remind the audience how easily manipulation can wear the mask of entertainment, how quickly charisma can camouflage incompetence, how danger can come wrapped in applause. Because what's happening isn't leadership, it's choreography. Every statement, every stunt, Every spectacle is rehearsed chaos designed to make the audience forget how little is actually being done. J.D. Vance stands in the background like a supporting actor, too afraid to ad-lib, nodding along to a script written in permanent confusion. And yet, somehow, this is sold as vision. Kimmel, in his ruthless irony, reminds everyone that even the best spin can't make nonsense sound profound.
Speaker Mike Johnson said there's nothing more Trump can do about the shutdown. The guy who's ended 8 wars, a man who has ended wars that never even started, can't do anything about this. Some Republicans are very unhappy with Mike Johnson, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who reportedly lashed out at him on a call with House Republicans. She said her party was letting the country down and demanded to know the Republican plan for health care, which Johnson refused to share because there is no Republican.
He exposes how the brand of Trump's America has become a franchise of chaos, where loyalty is measured by how loudly you repeat the absurd and how eagerly you ignore the obvious. Kimmel's comedy slices through that haze of blind devotion with precision. He understands that the moment you stop laughing, the danger becomes real. Laughter is resistance, the only weapon left when reason stops working. And the brilliance of it is how Kimmel doesn't try to outscream the chaos. His delivery lands because he treats the absurdity with the only respect it deserves: mockery. That's how you dismantle a cult of personality, not by debating it, but by deflating it. Trump's presidency has become a case study in branding over governing. Every controversy is reframed as courage, every mistake as media sabotage, every failure as someone else's fault. Kimmel just sits back and lets the absurdity implode under its own weight, because when everything becomes a spectacle, reality becomes the ultimate punchline. Because in Trump's America, applause has replaced accountability. Every performance is followed by denial, every contradiction by spin. The truth isn't buried, it's overshadowed by louder lies. And yet, amid all that chaos, humor endures, not as escape, but as clarity. Kimmel's satire doesn't soften the blow, it sharpens it. It reminds everyone that mockery isn't cruelty when aimed at power, it's survival.